Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Dana Matilia, and today I will be talking to Fernando Machado. So, hello, Fernando. How are you?
Outstanding. It's another day in paradise.
Fantastic. Well, we have a lot of good stuff to talk about today. And before we get into, your company and all that kind of good stuff, let's talk about you a little bit. So, tell me a little bit about, your background and your experience and what kind of certifications you have and all that, just so everybody can get an idea of, your qualifications.
Yep. So my name is Fernando Machado. I'm the Chief Information Security Officer for CyberSec Investments. We're an authorized CMMC third-party assessment organization, and I am a certified CMMC assessor. I have I have nearly 15 years of DoD cybersecurity experience. I've worked with various DoD prime contractors. I was a Department of the Army contractor, and now currently working at CyberSec. We hold top industry certifications, such as the Certified Information System Security Professional and Certified Information Security Manager.
Wow, that's impressive. Okay, so you definitely know what's going on here in the DoD world. And as we know, there's a lot going on in that whole thing. So you have lots of certifications and all that kind of good stuff. So now you have developed some kind of a program to help both to assess organizations and also to help them along their journey before they get to their assessment. So let's just talk about some of the ways that you do that and some of the ways that you help folks that are looking for help before the assessment. Let's start with them.
Yeah, so one of the things that we do, we have a couple of tools that we use to help with CMMC certification. We actually call it the Assessor's Playbook. And what it is, it's a OneNote document that is editable where contractors can put their different artifacts and screenshots of their environment that they can then package up and send to their assessor, which it's supposed to help organize your evidence, show your assessor where all the things are at, and it could potentially expedite your assessment. Another thing that we also have, and we just recently released it, is our book, CMMC Simplified. And the book is aimed for contractors that are just getting into the space or don't know anything about CMMC. And it talks about the basics of the CMMC program and getting them up to speed.
And I have read that book, and I would strongly advise anybody who is just finding out that they have to follow the CMMC and maybe they're not even really sure what it is. It's a great, great, great little read on what some of the acronyms are and why this is important and how to even get started and all that. So I think that you did a great job putting that together, and that is going to be a big help for the community. So
Thank
I
you.
think that, yeah, good. No, really, seriously. When I was like, he did a great job spelling this all out. That's what I'm saying the whole time I was going through the program. Now, just real quick, back to that assessor playbook, because I think this is very helpful as well, because this is going to help make sure that as people are going through, making sure they have evidence for this and evidence for that, and they have proof of all this stuff, it's going to help them be rest assured that when the assessor comes in, they're going to know exactly what they are going to be looking for because you are an assessor. So let's just say, for example, that somebody gave them that OneNote and then they filled it all in or whatever, and they had sent that to you prior to the assessment. How confident would you be that they were going to be prepared for the assessment?
I would be extremely confident because I can look through that assessor playbook and I can see if the contractor has put everything that's needed in there. And so before even getting to the assessment, it's given me a higher level of confidence before even starting the assessment with them.
And that's a huge deal, especially because, which we're going to get into in 1 second, why people should be being proactive about this now, because as we're getting down the pike and these requirements are showing up in more and more contracts, the demand for C3PAOs, assessors like yourself, are going to be scarce, scarce, scarce. So obviously, that's going to be a hot commodity. So by getting started a little bit ahead of time and making sure that you have all this stuff, you're going to make sure that when you get your assessment, you're going to pass. And that's a very important thing because let's say, for example, you're not really too prepared. They come in, they do the assessment. They're going to be so busy with whoever needs the next assessment that it may take extra time for you to get your, reassessment. And that may not help when it comes to getting a contract. So that's what we want to make sure that people really, really understand. And when you showed me that OneNote, I said, wow, this is, again, because it's in very plain English too. And that's one thing that I find in the CMMC world is a lot of stuff is very, very technical. Now tell us a little bit about, because I know you're very good at this, talking to people in languages that they really understand. So it's not just all at the technical CMMC level. What do you say to somebody when they come to you and they say, listen, I need some help here. I don't understand any of this technical stuff. And I know I got to get the certification.
Right. So the first thing that we do is we say, let's start at the very beginning and identifying what contract clauses they have in their contractual agreements. We always say, right, if they're a prime and they're handling federal contract information, then you're probably going to see that FAR 52.204-21 clause in your contract. However, if you are handling controlled unclassified information, either as a prime or a sub, you may have the DFARS 252.204-7012 clause in your contractual agreement. And so depending on what type of data that you're handling is going to depend on what level you're going to have to be compliant with.
Well, the fact that you're willing to help them go through and find out, because sometimes, because a lot of this has been self-attestation and, no one has been coming to check and see what's actually being done. Not that people are fibbing, but maybe they haven't paid as much attention to the nitty-gritty of the details. So that's great that you'll help them identify, okay, what clauses are even in here and then what follows with those clauses. So I think that's really, really helpful. Now, one thing I want to talk about is, CMMC. A lot of the people in the CMMC world have been talking about CMMC for a couple of years, but I do feel very confident that a lot of companies in the DIB do not know this train is coming down the tracks. And so we try to scream from the rooftops, start now, start now. So let's talk a little bit about why people should start now and how long they should really expect realistically for this journey to take for them to get CMMC certified. Contractors that work with the U.S. Department of Defense will be required to achieve a new level of cybersecurity, CMMC certified. CyberSec Investments is an authorized CMMC third-party assessment organization. They have over 15 years of experience working with the DoD and large contractors. CyberSec Investments knows what cybersecurity requirements you need to have in place to pass your CMMC assessment. Go to their website, download the free Assessor Playbook, and grab a copy of their CMMC Simplified book. When it's time for your organization's assessment, contact CyberSec Investments.
Right. So it's obviously, right, as we've been screaming from the rooftops for many years now, to start as soon as possible. The average time that it's taking contractors to get ready from start to finish is approximately about 12 to 18 months. And so if the CMMC rule that the DoD has proposed to come out in fall of next year, contractors really don't have a lot of time to go ahead and getting ready. So the sooner that they can get ready, the better. That way they don't miss on opportunities on either keeping their existing contracts or not being able to bid on future contracts.
So here's a question. So let's say somebody does not currently have those clauses in their contract, because they don't. And how do they know that their next contract, when it comes due, is going to have that in there? What should they do? Should they be reaching out to someone and finding out, hey, am I going to be held responsible the next time this contract is up for renewal? Or how should they go about trying to be proactive?
Right. Well, I mean, one of the first things that they need to do is stay in contact. If they're a sub, stay in contact with your point of contact over at the prime. Or if you are the prime, then you need to answer get those questions answered by your contracting officer, and making sure that DFAR 7012 contractual agreement is not in your contractual agreement.
Okay. That's very helpful that you shared that. Okay. All right. So is there anything else you want to talk about specifically with your company and how you help folks with this, either at the assessor level, or maybe we talk about, how to make sure that before you show up, besides the one note, that they are ready to go, or any kind of, tidbits of helpful information you want to provide?
So a couple of the services that we offer are things like CMMC advisory services, but we're being very selective with that. Obviously, as everybody knows, if we as an authorized CMMC third-party assessment organization help an organization through advisory, then we cannot be the ones that certify you. But we work with other C3PAOs to help make that a smooth process as possible. Another thing that we offer is CMMC readiness. So we come in and we review your documentation. We go through kind of like a mock assessment and see if you're ready to go or not. And we do not provide recommendations, so that it leaves the door open for us to conduct your assessment. And then last but not least, we're doing joint surveillance voluntary assessments, or JSVAs, which the DoD's intent is that those will convert to a CMMC level 2 certification in the future. And at that time, your 3-year recertification clock would begin.
Okay. So I just want to talk about that for a minute, because I think a lot of people do not know that joint surveillance voluntary assessment is going to be helpful in any way with CMMC. So let's just slow down and repeat all this again. So how does somebody even know if they can get one of these joint surveillance volunteer assessments?
Right. So one of the criteria for being eligible for a joint surveillance assessment is you have to be handling CUI and you have a DFAR 7012 contractual clause in your agreement, either as a prime or a sub. That would make you eligible for a joint surveillance assessment.
So this is one way that somebody who really wants to be proactive can say, okay, I have that in my contract. I'm going to get started on this and I'm going to get this joint surveillance voluntary assessment with the intention that this it's going to get converted to a level 2 CMMC certification. So I think that's a very important thing that we need to share with a lot more people, because I don't think that that's really out there too much outside of the internal community. So is that's something that you're saying that you do, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So people, if they do have that, they can reach out to you if they want you to help them figure out if they qualify for that or whatever. They can reach out to you. So that's really, really helpful. So I'm glad we touched base on that. So is there anything else you want to add before we go?
So as far as like the joint surveillance assessments go, a joint surveillance assessment is essentially a DFAR 7012 assessment conducted jointly between an authorized CMMC third-party assessment organization and the DoD's Defense Industrial Base Cybersecurity Assessment Center, or DIPCAC team. So your C3PAO would conduct the NIST 800-171 portion of your assessment. Once that's completed, DIPCAC will then pull the contractor aside and will determine if you are meeting the DFAR 7012 portion of your contractual agreement, meaning, do you have a medium assurance certificate in accordance with paragraph C for cyber incident reporting? If you're utilizing a cloud service provider to process, store, or transmit any covered defense information, that cloud service provider is at least FedRAMP moderate or equivalent and is complying with paragraph C through G. And if you are flowing down CUI to a subcontractor, that you are flowing down the entirety of the DFAR 7012 clause to that subcontractor in its entirety.
And if somebody doesn't understand anything that you just said, they could just call you and you could look and you could help them.
Correct. And we'll walk them right through it.
Perfect. And then another thing, we briefly touched on this a little bit earlier, but as far as why people should be proactive, is the number of authorized C3PAOs, meaning people that can go in and do assessments, versus the number of people that are going to need to achieve CMMC there's nothing balanced about it at all. And the supply and demand is going to be out of control, which means that the price is going to go up as you guys become, more of a hot commodity because more people need that certification. Where right now, because there's still a little bit of, uncertainty, but not very much, that you could get most of it at least started. And then that way you're going to be saving on this versus the hot demand a little bit later on down the road. So that's another reason why people should try to be proactive.
Correct. Yeah,
All
there's
right, awesome.
currently, I think there's currently 46 authorized CMMC third-party assessment organizations in the country. And the last estimates that we have from the DoD, there's going to be about 80,000 companies that have to get this certification. So do the math. There's just simply not enough of us to go around.
Right, exactly. So act now, everybody. Act now. Call Fernando. Okay, so what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Best way to get in touch with us is by either calling us at 1-800-960-8802 or emailing us at info@cybersecinvestments.com. And then what we'll do is we'll, get in touch with you. We'll get NDA signed and we can have a complete, open, and fair discussion about what your needs are. And then we can, develop a plan on going forward from there.
That sounds perfect. Nice and easy, right? Easier
Yes,
to
ma'am.
make it, the more easy it's going to get this whole thing done and ready to go. So, okay, great. Well, thank you very much for your time. This was fantastic. And anybody who's looking to get CMMC certified or needs an assessment, please reach out to Fernando. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. And we'll see you all again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.